Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. We're pleased to be joined by Scott Huffaker of TDS. Of course, he'll be driving for them in the LMP2 category. He's got a lot of things going on this year, of course. With a lot of other things their sports car. We'll get into that in a minute. How's it going, Scott?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. So let's address this. You're with a new team this year.
Yeah, switch from PR1 to TDS this year. So first time I'm racing with a new team since 2016.
Yeah. So just kind of talk about just joining a new team and what's that going to be like for you. I know Mikkel Jensen went with you. So what's that going to be like heading into the upcoming season?
Yeah, it's definitely a new experience for me because, like I said, I've been running with PR1 for so long, but it's been great so far. I went to the factory, did my seat fitting, and I was there for about half a week, got to know the team, and then we also attended the testing at Daytona on the December 6th. And so I got to work with the team, drive the car, got to see how we all work together and everything. And it's a great bunch of people. The car seems really good, so everyone's very professional. And yeah, I'm just excited to get it started this year.
Yeah. So I know that you're going to be doing a lot of other things this year as well. Just kind of explain what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, so I'm racing with Kessel Racing in the Ferrari GTE in WEC full season and ELMS.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about, traveling, you're going to be doing all the endurance races this year. So, this one, the 12 hours of Sebring, 6 hours at the Glen, and of course, Petit Le Mans at the end of the year. Just on the IMSA side, of course, and then you have your WEC commitments. But what's that going to be like heading into those races? But this is probably the biggest race that you'll probably race all year. And then there's that race in June too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a lot of traveling going on this year, especially since I'm racing 3 series, a lot more than I'm used to. But I think this year in particular, with testing and everything, it'll just be even more than I've done in years previous. So um, I think Sebring will be probably the most time consuming because we'll have some test days. Then I've got the WEC prologue, and then I'll race the 1,000 miles or 1,000 kilometers of Sebring on Friday, and then Saturday run the 12 hours of Sebring and P2. So that'll be a brutal weekend. But yeah, no, I can't wait for Daytona. It's going to be awesome. We're there for 2 weeks with the Roar, and then the big one.
Yeah. So, just kind of talking about, this, you're a pretty busy kid. You're used to that. Of course, you were telling me you were still in college at the time. You're actually taking a year off because you were doing all this other stuff. What's this going to do for you now that you don't have to kind of worry about school?
Well, yeah, now it's kind of a full-time thing for me, where I kind of had to split my time between school and racing. And now this season, focusing 100% on racing. So hopefully I can be at my peak performance for every race, training as much as I can, and being just as prepared as possible.
Yeah. So going into this race, how many times have you run the Rolex 24?
So this will be my third time. I ran it in my first year was 2021. And that year we were actually super fast. We were super unlucky. We had a lot of reliability issues, just that were like everything was replaced on the car, like everyone does. So just new parts were breaking. So it was super unfortunate. And last year, we had such a perfect race. I mean, we had no issues, not even like one off track, not even dropping tires, anything. And but a bunch of other cars did too. So unfortunately, we got fourth.
No. So just coming into, and you're going to be doing a lot of traveling over this calendar year. How exciting is that for you? And kind of talk about all the places you're going to go. I'm just looking at the WEC schedule right now. It's gonna be pretty insane.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very intense. I think it really picks up really just after Sebring because then I think it's WEC and Spa the next month, and then I have 4 races in a row going to Italy, France, Belgium, splitting between ELMS and WEC. So it swaps off like every weekend for about 4 weekends in a row, and then I've got about a month off, and then it's again like 3 weekends in a row, and then we end up in Japan and Bahrain, everything. So and then of course be back at Petit Le Mans. So it's yeah, it's a pretty crazy season.
Yeah, for sure. Um, how long have you flown on a plane for?
Uh, so the worst trip I've ever done was to Bahrain. I did a rookie test and I flew, it's like 12 hours from San Francisco to Germany, which I flew. And then I made, I switched planes and then it was 7 hours to Saudi Arabia and then an hour to Bahrain.
Really?
Yeah, and that was terrible.
I bet. So for people that don't know, where do you, I mean, just for context, where are you based usually?
So my family just moved this summer from California to New Mexico because that's where they grew up, and so they just bought a house here because they want to retire here. But I primarily live in Colorado because that's where I go to school.
Nice. So, so coming and traveling and all this other stuff. I mean, do you try to sleep on the plane as much as you can?
Yeah, yeah. I've gotten used to now where every time I get on the plane, I just associate it with sleeping, so I can fall asleep anytime on the plane.
You slept the whole plane through, like a whole.
Yeah, yeah, I so the flight that I just did to France for the seat fitting with the new team, I slept I think all but 30 minutes of it.
Nice. Um, okay, so obviously we'll go off of sleeping for a minute here. Kind of ties into my next question. How tough is this race? It's an entire day. Trying to make sure your bus is parked as far away from turn three as possible. Um, what's it like to try to, after you're out of the car and trying to get rest and before your next stint?
Yeah, it can be really tough, especially in the middle of the night. It all depends on really how we're doing. Like in 2021, we were quite a ways down when I was going to sleep. So it's a bit easier to sleep. When in 2022, we were still in the fight for, the lead, battling with everyone. So it's very hard to sleep, when someone's in your car and, you're going to go to sleep for a few hours and then get back in. So yeah, it all depends on where you are. In like 2021, for example, I was in such a good sleep, and then I had to go get in the car early morning, and I was like dead tired, and I don't think I managed my sleep very well because it was my first 24 hours. Um, but in 2022, it was a lot better because I kind of understood, you know, how to treat the sleep and not like get into a super deep sleep where I wake up tired, but just enough to get me rested. And so that helped a lot. But yeah, it's not an easy thing. Mentally, it's very tough because you're going all day. And then when you get up early in the morning, it's it's really tough, especially when the sun's coming up. That's probably the toughest part. But once you make it to the next day, it's like, okay, let's go. You're in the fight for the lead, so it's on.
Yeah. Okay, so going in from that, just how exciting is this? With a new team, of course, you're going down there next week. Just talk about how exciting it is to, excited for the Roar and then heading into the Rolex.
Yeah, I'm super excited. This year it looks really good. Super competitive teams. I mean, we have a lot of like IndyCar drivers, a lot of very good GT drivers going to be in the prototype class. So I think if you look at the teams this year, it's going to be super competitive, and I think that's really exciting for both me as a driver and for the fans. So I think this will be one of the best Rolexes to watch, especially with the new class. And yeah, now with a new team, I think we did. the testing in December, and we looked really good. Car felt amazing. You know, the team we gelled really well. So yeah, let's see where we go from the Roar. Hopefully, we'll be looking good as well going into the Rolex. So
All right. Let me ask you this. I've asked everybody this, but what's it going to take to win the Rolex 24?
I think first you need to have a keep the car intact for probably like 22 hours, and then you go all out for the finish. So I probably won't be driving at that time. So my job is to really just keep the car clean. Give it probably to Mikkel, which I know he'll do a great job at the end. But if we can stay out of trouble, keep our nose clean, I think we'll do very well.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck at the Rolex 24 next week.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right.